response back to her, so if she comes on, I'll admit her.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the Standards Community Subcommittee. We'll make a start because we've started a bit late. And,
Chair, before you start, can I just apologise to Councillors Steve, Helen, and Tim for keeping them waiting in the meeting. We had a Standards Committee meeting which supposedly started at 2 o'clock, but we had ICT problems, and we did not commence until gone 2:30. So I'm ever so sorry we're running late, and that's the reason why we've not been able to bring you into the meeting before now. So apologies for that. We are trying to resolve the issues. We seem to have them all the time, and it's not acceptable. But please accept our apologies.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
okay.
Chair, over to you.
Going through the agenda. So first of all, apologies. We've got apologies from Jonathan Goulden and Councillor Light. And we haven't heard from Councillor Colswick yet. So the next item then is the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on the 25th of October 2023. So I assume everyone will have seen the minutes of the meeting. Does anybody have any questions, any observations, or any matters that arising out of that? No? Okay. In that case, we'll need a proposer and seconder for the chair to sign the minutes. Yeah. So Russell to propose and Nigel to second. Right. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Right. Now it's the report of the head of legal and monitoring officer. Is it likely to be a short report, Clive, or should we the dispensations?
Chair, very short report before we get to dispensation. Members will see my report commences on page 5 of the agenda. Referrals to the Ombudsman are set out at page 5. You'll see that there are a number of investigations involving town and community councils which are present there. You'll see that there are a number of which are being investigated. I think there are probably 6 which have been investigated, perhaps 7, and there are others the Ombudsman have decided for various reasons not to investigate. The next item on the agenda is the request from Helen Burns and from Tim Jones for a dispensation. Members will see that their application for a dispensation starts on pages 7 of the bundle. But before going to that, can I thank Councillor Tim for giving us an update earlier on today about matters which I think are really useful and perhaps can circumvent much of the discussion which takes place today. So, Chair, can I just sort of update members who may not have been able to? Sorry, Chair, did you say something?
So please give update us, yes.
Yeah, so Councillor Tim sent us an email earlier on today with an update reflecting that both he and Councillor Helen have been appointed by the Llangattock Community Council to be their council's representatives on the Llangattock Community Benefit Society Limited, on the board of that. Chair, that in itself would be a personal interest if the matters relating to that society were discussed at Llangattock Community Council, but it would not be a prejudicial interest preventing them from participating and voting in those debates, because section 12(2)(3) of the Code of Conduct excludes there being a prejudicial interest where the council is considering business which relates to a body upon which councillors have been elected, appointed and nominated to represent the council. So, Chair, if that were the only mechanism for Councillor Tim and Helen's involvement in that society, that would be an end to the matter. You wouldn't need a dispensation because you would need to declare a personal interest. but you would not have a prejudicial interest which would prevent you from participating and voting in any debate. However, the application also refers to both Councillor Helen and Councillor Tim being, and I quote, being paid up members of the One Member, One Vote Society. Chair, section 10(2)(a)(4) of the code states that there will be a personal interest if the councillor has a 100th or more of the total issued share capital of that company. So Chair, that's the only issue I think which we need to consider at this moment in time, and get some further information from Councillor Tim and Councillor Helling on whether or not they each individually would hold more than 100th of the total share capital in the company. Of course, that potential personal interest could be totally avoided if Councillors Helling and Councillor Tim abstained from obtaining shares within the company and just relied upon their membership of the organisation, but having been appointed to be a member by their own town and community council. So I think initially it would be really helpful if Councillor Tim and Councillor Helen were to give their individual views as to whether or not they will hold more than 100th of the share capital, or whether they simply won't apply for share capital.
Okay, well, thank you.
Tim, as you're the leader of the council down there.
Thank you very much, Clive, for that introduction and that clarification. In terms of the 1/100th, I mean, the hope is that we would have more than 100 members. There are 1,000 residents within Langattock, and on the basis of the responses that we've had from volunteers putting their names forward and the responses to the surveys, we would hope and anticipate that would be the case. At this point in time, as a share offer has not been issued, in fact the LCBS is not quite formed yet, it's very, very nearly there. It's not possible to say with absolute certainty that that we would get over the 100 threshold, but the hope and anticipation would be that we would do that. On your second point, in terms of not being members of the society, it is one of the rules of the society that in order to be directors, we would be required to be members. So unfortunately, we have the two sets of rules acting slightly against us, hence the need for a dispensation. What I would say, if I may, is that both myself and Helen have been leading this process through the Langattock Community Place Plan, which was a consultation which went on for 14 months and provided a great deal of evidence of community support. And as such, and because of our background skills and our involvement within community engagement, etc., we are ideally placed to kind of take it forward with the support of the community, again, hence seeking this dispensation. So I would sort of appeal to the committee to take the bigger view on this, in that we are verifiably acting in something which, even if it did create a pecuniary interest, would be a very small one. This body is not anticipated to make a lot of money, let's put it that way.
Well, Councillor Tim, I thought the update which you indicated, gave us earlier on, indicated that any income which the society did would be reinvested within the community and not given to shareholders. So therefore, I think you actually said in your update that you would not have any pecuniary interest.
Well, that is if the current set of rules are applied, absolutely, yeah, and that will be stated within the share offer, and it'll be up to people to invest on that basis. You've got two separate bodies here. You have a benefit society which has a general meeting every year. It is possible that that body could change its rules in the future. Can't mitigate against it, but it would be very, very unlikely that it would.
In your statement, you mentioned that if there were any profits, it would be retained or redistributed. But how, in what way were they distributed? Who might be the beneficiaries?
Well, the first intention, and again, this has to go through through the procedures within that body. The intention is to make a community share offer, which will say that it will be either reinvested or redistributed. I mean, the first thing that the LCBS has to do is it has to wipe its face and it has to pay its way. It would be raising funds out of a small cafe, a small shop, but the primary purpose is to provide a meeting place. So it's not anticipated it would generate a great deal of money. Should it do so, then the intention would be that it would be redistributed. As in to other local causes, in the way that the Langattock Village Society is just doing at the moment. They've raised money through a CIC through Microhydro, and they're actually giving grants out at the moment. That would be the intention. But I would say, Chair, that it's not what we're talking about here today is whether it would bring Langattock Community Council in to distribute if we're involved in this body. Whereas what I can't actually do is leap forward in time and say, this is the intention, this is what we're intending to go into the rules. At some point in the future, the membership may change that, and we would have to address that at that time.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Councillor Tim? No. Councillor Helen? Can we have your view?
Sorry, I can't hear you terribly well, but I think that the points that Tim has made are all sort of well made, and the intention is purely to provide Langattock with a warm community hub that will also provide some small shopping and cafe facilities. And our reason for doing it is that this came up very strongly in the place plan, that it was something that the residents very much wanted. And in, like a lot of small places, we are in a situation where a large sector of our population now is in the retired age group, and some of them quite elderly. And although we're not far from Crickhowell, it's too far for some of those people sort of physically to get to enjoy the company of friends and neighbours. So, the reasons for doing this are sort of well laid out and well documented. It's not being set up as a money-making venture. I mean, clearly the thing will have to support itself. But more than anything, it is to support the community. So, I think there are various restrictions within the rules of the CBS to ensure that individuals don't profit from this.
Thank you. And you're anticipating more than 100 members?
I would think so. I mean, the population of the village is just under 1,000, and we've had a couple of hundred people already who are very, very interested in what's going on. We've got something like 60 volunteers, 60 people who have volunteered to get involved and help in the running of the hub. And as it sort of progresses, I'm sure we'll get many, many more.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to ask any questions?
Yeah, it's Karen Coldrick from Llangama. I read through the information, and to me it sounds very like there was a farm that was taken over some time ago by a young couple who were actually living on the farm, whose father had died, but it was a rented farm. And they took out shares. They offered shares to people in order to be able to buy the farm, which worked very successfully. And I got some shares, bought some shares, and then, but you never got your shares back. The shares were always ploughed in to the organisation. So the shares really are just nominal shares. They're not real shares as you would have in developing a share, a number of shares in a company that was going to make a profit for you out of that. Hopefully it will make a profit and that can be ploughed back in, but the whole premise is that you buy shares in that, but you never actually get anything back. Am I correct in my thinking on that?
You are correct in the thinking on that, and this is a one member, one vote society. So you get one, whatever you put in, you get one share, and the intention is that shares would be those would be issued at sort of £10 or £20 each, with the intention of trying to attract as many people as possible to be members of this. And but and as I say, the intention is that the share offer that any profits would be reinvested. It is possible that the general membership might change that at some point in time, but we don't see that as likely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Karen. Claire?
I just wondered if you can be involved without having a share.
Thank you. As I replied earlier on, we can be involved, but we can't be directors.
Okay.
One of the key roles is community engagement, and Helen is the chair of one of the leaders of the Langattock Village Society, which is very active in trying to get volunteers. I'm a communications professional, and I support the Community Council and other bodies with stills, video, and the like. So it's entirely possible for me to do that without being a director. But I've been one of those people who've driven through the place plan, and it would seem appropriate. Well, it would seem sensible for me to be actively involved in the body as I've been driving it up until this point. Now, of course, clearly, if the rules preclude that, then we'd have to try and work a way around it. I'm chair of the council, so I'm not going to set that aside in order for the LCBS, but it would be the LCBS and something which the community has said it clearly wants, which would be disadvantaged by that. And I would put it's clearly it's within your capability to give us a dispensation in order to fulfil both roles with complete transparency and with detailed scrutiny by a community that's very engaged.
Thank you. Michael?
It's a question I've got concerning the end-of-law process. If your shop and the hub was successful, and say NICER or SPA come along and offer the society a sum of money to take it over, who benefits from the additional cash injection that the company offer you, and how does it get dispersed? Do you have something written into the society concerning what happens at the end of the process?
So the rules that have been put forward to the Financial Conduct Authority include a voluntary asset lock, and that is such that the shareholding could only pass to a similar body. So in that effect, the question that you raised does not arise in that it could not be taken over by a NICER or a co-op. I mean, I have to say I was actively involved in the Corn Exchange Crickhowell, and we managed to keep a co-op out of Crickhowell High Street for 15 years. So I, for one, wouldn't be voting for that.
Okay. Any other?
Sorry. That is a very valid question, isn't it? Because if somebody did come along like that and offered you pots of money to sell out, then what would you do with the profit that's made? Presumably plough it back into the community in some way, but how would that be done?
Well, that would be a question that would have to go back via the membership to the Financial Conduct Authority, because, as I said, while many things are not included in the rules which have been put to the FCA, one of those things that is being put in is a voluntary asset lock. So at this point in time of the formation of the benefit society, it is not possible for this to pass to anything other than a body constituted in a similar way. So I hope that answers the question. We can speculate. We're effectively speculating something which, under the current rules of the society, cannot happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, then the committee will now need to deliberate. So if you wouldn't mind leading for a moment.
Right, what I'll do is I'll move councillors Tim and Helen into a separate room.
Mhm.
So the committee will be deliberating together without the two of them being present, okay? If you just hold a moment.